Oh, welcome to another episode of The Growth Compass. Shout out to our sponsor, Senders. If you want to cold email correctly, you reach out to me and I'll connect you with them. Today, we have a really awesome guest, super awesome personality. If you've ever gotten the pleasure to see him online, Tyler Robertson. What's going on?
Hey man, glad to be on here. Love talking about growth, business, all the things. So yeah, excited to roll into it today.
Good. Yeah, I am definitely not familiar with your industry, your product, those things. So there's a lot that I'm excited to learn from you. And so I think before we get into it, I do want a little bit of backstory because I know that it's interesting. If you could just give a brief introduction of yourself to everybody, to myself, what you're doing now, all that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, like the short version on the entrepreneur journey here is 10 years ago I was given an ultimatum, like quit my side business or I had to resign. And they said if I quit my business, I can double my raise next year and get a bonus. And just
Wow.
through the right people being around me at the time, I made the right decision. So I started this business 10 years ago in my garage. Started with like $1,000. Here we are 10 years later. We've mainly been bootstrapped, and we're rolling in that 90 $100 million a year range in revenue, with no debt. And I've retained well past the majority, like over 90% majority ownership of the company. So things have gone really, really well the last 10 years. Well, I wouldn't say they've all gone well. There's been a lot of things thrown in the fire there, but for the most part, yeah, I can't complain about anything, right? Like we've been really lucky, really successful, and I think we got a great vision for the future. It's been that fun journey the last 10 years, going from your garage to having a couple hundred employees.
Yeah. So just quick elevator pitch. What is it that Diesel Laptops does?
Yeah, so Diesel Laptops makes diesel technicians be better at their jobs. And we do that through 5 things: diagnostic tools, parts and repair information, diesel technician training, virtual diesel technicians in a call center. And then we just acquired a company that does remote monitoring and predictive AI. So before your vehicle has a problem. And what we serve is the diesel powered world. So that's really on highway commercial trucks, and it's off highway diesel powered equipment. And to put it in scope for how big this industry is, just in North America alone last year, over $80 billion was spent on parts and labor getting trucks up and fixed. And then you look at the off-highway world, which is magnitudes larger. There's probably another 300 billion spent there, and that's just in North America. So now you're talking a $400 billion a year industry of people just trying to fix their equipment to keep it running. And a lot of people don't realize diesel touches everything that we do in our lives, from the grocery store where we get our food, to the shopping that we do every day, to buildings that are getting built and the playgrounds our kids play in. Diesel's touch those components many, many times through that whole journey of that finished product. And it's a big part of our world, and it's not going anywhere soon. And it's for us now, we have global aspirations and a lot bigger picture and vision of our future. So it's a good industry to be in. People just don't realize how big it is. And again, put in perspective, that is bigger than the recording artist industry, the music industry, and the cruise line industry combined. Like it's not even close. It's not even still on the radar. So it's a big business that people don't even realize exists.
Awesome. Well, yeah, lots of questions about it. Because like I said, not very familiar, so I'm excited to learn from you. I do see you're in South Carolina. Have you been there your whole life? Did you relocate for some reason?
Yeah, so like even before we got on the call, like you made the comment about school and like you went to RIT. I'm like, yeah, I got kicked out. That was one of the I'm like, but don't worry, it worked
Yeah.
out. It was like one of the 5 best things that ever happened to me. And actually getting to South Carolina was number 2 on the list. And I was getting fired from my employer up in northern Minnesota. So that's where I grew up, was northern Minnesota. Went to school in New York, got kicked out, went back to Minnesota, worked for my dad. They sold the company, worked for the new guy, got fired. And again, best thing that ever happened to me is being given the opportunity to come to South Carolina. Knew nobody, had no resources, knew nothing, had a ton
Wow.
of personal debt. And, here I am trying to figure things out in a whole new life. And again, I'm glad that all happened in hindsight, because it really made me focus on who I am and where I want to be and career goals and all those things. Um, Sometimes those moments you go through that seem horrible end up being like the best things that ever happened to you in hindsight. So I always tell people that every time they're going through through a rough patch.
Well, what was it that, like, if you could just briefly talk about who you were at the time, what brought you to South Carolina, why South Carolina, if a reason? Because like you said,
Yeah,
you didn't know
no,
anybody.
so what happened is I'm in Minnesota. I'm in the family business. They end up selling this branch of the family business, and I had a choice: go in the other branch of the family business or stay with the new employer. And I love the new employer. It was the commercial truck dealership space. We worked on commercial trucks. It was like a car dealer, but for commercial trucks. And I loved it. And they kept me there for about a year, and then they fired me. And then I got upset, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get back at them. And I went to go work for their competitor. And the job I took on that in that time was a sales role, selling commercial trucks. And I learned something very important about myself at that point in time in my life. I am not built out for commission sales. That is not my thing at all. I put my resume on the internet, and by that point, I probably had 6, 7 years of diesel experience inside dealerships. And I found a headhunter. Well, he found me, and they flew me around the country, and I ended up getting 3 job offers in the span of about a week. One
Wow.
was in Billings, Montana. One was in New York, New Jersey area, like right across the
Yeah.
harbor. And then the other one was down in South Carolina. And I'll tell you what, man, when you leave northern Minnesota and you land in South Carolina, it was a 100-degree temperature difference.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of opportunity down here, and it was a bigger area, and there was just more things to do. I picked the job down in South Carolina, and it's been a great place to, raise my kids, build a business, do all the
Wow.
things. Really, really love it down here in the South. I'm never living in northern Minnesota again, or New York. Like I can't deal with the weather anymore up that far.
Yeah. There are two experiences on your LinkedIn, and is the first one that you spent, I forget what it is, 8 or 9 years at, is that one what you started when you moved to South Carolina first?
Yeah, look, like life experiences for people should be building blocks, right? They should be like, I learned this thing, I leveled up, now I'm doing another thing. And my whole career, when I look back on it, it's been that. I went to school for computer engineering. I learned a lot of great things about how computers and systems and CPUs work and all these things, but I got kicked out. Then I went to work for my dad, and they had started a truck dealership. I knew nothing about a truck dealership, neither did he, but I was just a sponge, and I learned everything I could about commercial trucks and all the things that are going on, and how they break down all the time, and how the repairs work, and how just horrible the experience is for everybody involved in that process. And then they sold it, and I got to go work for a bigger dealership that was more professionally managed, and I got to really understand like how big the scope was and how there's more pieces of the puzzle that I didn't understand working for my family dealership. And then you kind of got to that point where I was at that intersection of like, man, now I got this computer engineering experience. I have this experience working in truck dealerships for the last decade and a half. And I know there's a real need in the marketplace. And at the time, I was also highly in debt personally. And I was like, I need to get out of debt. And like, started reading some Dave Ramsey books, started figuring out a plan to get out of debt. I think it was like most people in my early 30s, like in debt. It was normal to have 2 car payments, student loan payments, credit card payments, house payments, and like everything else, right? That was normalized. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm on a better path here. So I just started paying off everything. And one of the ways I did that is I started a side business. And at first it was like flipping items on eBay. And then it turned into me learning what worked, what didn't work. And I finally found a guy on eBay that was selling a piece of diagnostic software. Horrible marketing. Couldn't really understand, like the average person would not look at this thing and understand what it was, but I did because I had the experience. And I just approached him and said, let me cut a deal. Like, I want to take your software program. I'm going to load it on a laptop. I'm going to support it. And because I understand what happens when trucks break down, what kind of support these diesel techs are going to need, what kind of help they're going to need. And my first product was nothing of mine. I just combined 3 other people's products, put it together, put a service around it so that I could support these people. And at the end of the day, it wasn't complicated. Customers were looking for solutions, and they needed solutions that solved their problem. And their problem in the B2B world, especially, is save me time, save me money. Like that's all it comes down to in this whole business to business world. And all of a sudden I had a product that not only did that, but I supported them, and I charged them a premium price, and customers had no issue paying at all. So just to keep it in perspective today, like our top selling product today is over $10,000, and we sell a bunch of them every single day, but it gets easy for customers to justify because they're charging $200 an hour in their shop. So all of a sudden $200 an hour is what they're charging for their labor, buying a tool that they're spending 500 or 750 bucks a month on financing. The math works out really quick, really easy, because we're saving them time and saving them money. So yeah, it's been a journey of like the building blocks of learning and all that stuff intersecting, and me being in the right spot of having this knowledge, not having debt, able to take some risks and start building the thing in literally my garage and dining room table is where I did it. So it's totally possible.
Because you had experience in this space, did you have this vision that there was the potential for it to become what your company is today? Or were you
Absolutely
just
not.
kind of taking it moment
Absolutely
by
not.
moment?
No,
Okay.
no. Like when I quit my job, the whole thing was like I was given an ultimatum. So like the question is, like for me, the question has really not been what can I do with this? It's like, why am I doing this? And at the beginning, the why was really simple. Like, I just need to have an income and keep a roof over my kid's head, right? Like that was like the step one. And then once you realize like, wow, I got a thing here and it's growing, you have two options. Like, do I just go down this growth path or do I just stay happy with what I have? And for me, I'm that type of person that's never content with like where my life is and like how do I keep incrementing that up? And I just chose to take all the money I was making and just put it right back in the company to keep fueling the growth. So I was like, and the why changed because it wasn't all of a sudden like now the why wasn't like, why do I have to take care of my kids in the house? It was, can I build a business? And then it was, can I build a more sustainable business that actually has employees and an office and like it's not in my garage? And then it was, okay, can I, for today where diesel is, it's like, can we go change fundamentally how this whole commercial truck and off-highway equipment repair network works? Like the model sucks. We all know it sucks. Can we change it for the better? And we just keep putting solutions in the marketplace where customers are like, yeah, that's a better solution than exists today. We'll pay you for that. And that's really what it's been over the last 10 years. And it's even still today. Like today I have a meeting after this. Me and my executive team are going to smoke some cigars, have some dinner, and we're talking about future products and future things that we're building out and how to do this in a better way. So it's just that nonstop drive to keep reiterating up and going fast as we can.
Well, I think that's a really interesting point in an entrepreneurial journey where you go from playing house to a business. And different people have different definitions of that. So, could you talk about the point where you looked around and you said, this is a business. I have clients, I have revenue. I need to hire, whatever that was for
Yeah.
you.
No, I'll tell you. I know exactly when it was. So I was actually okay. Actually, like just in my house, I'm making decent money. I had like an outside salesperson. I had one person that would show up at my house every day, help package up stuff and help answer calls. Like it wasn't ideal. The wife was kind of getting a little irritated, and I got a 1-year-old and 3-year-old running around. But all that aside, I probably would have stayed there for a little bit. But we had a customer we ran across, and they are a publicly traded power company that runs nuclear plants, and they wanted to buy our product.
Oh my
And we
God.
flew down there, we do the sales pitch, we do the demos, they love it. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're going to do this deal. We need to know like your company address and where you're at. And I'm like, man, I cannot put like my home address like on this form. Like I need something like now. Like what am I going to do? And I just knew like if they're interested, like we're going to find more business. I'm like, I got to find something. So I literally like drove out of my neighborhood and like literally like I get to the stop sign, and across the street there's a commercial building and it has like a for rent sign on it. I'm like, perfect. So I like literally drove over there. It was an old photography studio. So imagine a room you walk into and it's like in quadrants, and one quadrant's like a Western theme. One's like a theme where they had like a bathtub for shots. Another one's where they had like some, it was weird like that. I'm like, it's perfect. I'll take it. Like, I just needed the first thing I could find.
The
Bought that
realtor must have
photography
been
studio.
happy.
Yeah, like bought that. And I was like, this will be good enough for a while. And I think we made it like 6 months. And then we rented out more of the space. And there was a point there for like 4 years in a row. We would buy a space or rent. First two were rentals. Then I started buying buildings. And I would run out of space in 12 months. And I had to like go buy another one and go sell the old one. So we did that for a couple times. Up until we kind of got into this place now, we're at, this one's 40,000 square feet. We got a couple other facilities around the country that we do stuff at as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun there for a while. That's when I knew, when I was like, I gotta go do something, or I'm not going to grow this business any further than it is right now today.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really cool what you speak to. The main interest, main goal, main topic of this podcast is to talk about the actual strategies that people are employing to acquire new business, to grow their customers. On the other side of that, which I hope we get into on our next episode, is the other side. Once you acquire that growth, you need support. You need to support people. You need space, like you're speaking to. So I think that's a really interesting topic that you have a lot of experience in. I am curious how, at the early stages, you said you had an outside salesperson. How were you acquiring customers back then?
Yeah, so we still do it the same way, actually. So first of all, well, we tried it the way everybody else did at first, and the way everyone else did it in this space. And keep in mind, I'm keeping against names your audience may recognize, like Snap-on or Bosch. Like these are big companies with national distribution, billions in revenue, and thousands of employees. And it's me in my garage. So it's like, well, how do we get customers? Like, we'll do like everybody else. We'll have a sales rep Go out, drive to repair shops, show them the product, demo it, and maybe they'll buy it, maybe they won't. And we tried that. And because we had a lot of margin, it actually worked out okay. Our sales rep, the first guy we hired, he tried this and he would go sell, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 units a month. And it's a lot of windshield times. You're driving somewhere, you spend all day with one customer. And again, maybe you close, maybe you don't. And after like 3 months of this, he came to me and he's like, okay, this really sucks. What are we going to do?
Uh,
And in the meantime, what I had figured out was like on the customer acquisition side, to pivot back to that for a second, is when I first started, I did two things. Well, one thing really, I focused on SEO. So I was like, I don't have sales reps to go visit. I got one guy. We can sell anywhere in the country. Like, how do we do this? And I was like, we just got to rank on Google for everything. And the joke we always used was like, where do you hide dead bodies? Like page 2 of Google, because nobody goes there. So let's get on page 1 of Google. And we were intentional every single day about not every day, but like once a week, I would sit down and be like, I need to get one high quality backlink, and I need to like work on some on page stuff. And let's keep iterating this thing up. So I was really intentional then to go do that no matter what was going on. And then paid search is where it started. And like when you don't have a brand name, I would just take whatever profit we made and suck it right back into like the paid search and just keep ramping that up. But we were so young then, we weren't keeping track of metrics, any of that. We were just like, okay, leads are coming in. Let's figure out how to deal with this. But it tied to the sales strategy. So once we figured out like this really sucks driving around, and I'm like, I can't go hire people all across the country. Like that's insane. Like I don't want to manage 1,000 salespeople. Like how do we do this? And my sales guy at the time, he's like, I got an idea, Tyler. We're never going to do an on-site demo again. I'm like, we're not even going to show him the product. I'm like, okay, explain to me then, like, how are we going to sell this guy? At that time, they were like 6 or 7 grand. How are we going to do this? And he's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. First of all, we have customers that love us. We're going to ask them to like be a referral list, and we'll give them free renewals each year if they stay on it. So if they want to talk to someone, they can. 2, like literally take your phone out there and hook up to tools and start recording you doing stuff and put them on YouTube and just do a ton of them. And so when people say, does it do XYZ on brand ABC truck? You can be like, yeah, dude, here's a video of us doing it last week. And like, I can send him the videos, right?
wow.
And he's like, on top of that, let's go offer them a 30-day money back guarantee. If they're not 100% satisfied with this tool, they can have it. They got a 30-day window to get a full refund and send it back. And what we learned then is our salesperson, he went from selling that 4, 5, 6 units a month to selling 20.
Wow.
And
what year was this also?
9 years ago. Yeah. 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. And and then we're like, okay, he's figured it out, but like, how do we ramp this up even more? So we hired a second salesperson. It's actually my sister-in-law. She's worked in the restaurant industry her whole life. She doesn't know anything about a commercial truck or anything about a diagnostic tool. And within 30 days, we had her selling units. And she would just do the same. It was the same questions we got from customers, the same thing. And we would just drive them to this like one product we had, and we got the sales. And yeah, we had returns and things we had to work through there. That's how we did it. Was paid search, organic search. We stopped going door to door. And I mean, I could talk about all the things we tried and failed at that didn't work for us, but that's what we landed on. And that's still part of the strategy today. It's just today it's different because we spend less now on paid search than we did 9 years ago, but yet we get magnitudes larger leads coming in, and the brand name recognition's there, and we're number 1 on Google for everything organically and social media and all those things. So it's different today than it was in the beginning.
So you're saying, as far as utilizing the tactics of SEO and an outbound salesperson, those things are similar, but the mechanics of how somebody gets to you are different? Or has anything changed about what you guys are doing?
So even today, we don't do outbound phone calls. Like we don't do outbound sales, cold calls at all. We still just deal with everything that comes with us. So our marketing team, even in our space, it's thousands and thousands of sales leads a month. We just do them differently. But back then, again, no brand name, crappy website. Nobody knew who we were. Like we didn't have a choice but to do paid search. And it really started with Google. And then it morphed into Instagram and Facebook. They were separate at the time. So morphed more into those guys and putting our products on ads and doing different things on there to get them interested. And paid search is expensive. It's not a thing you want to like build your business on forever. Like you got to find a way to get off of it. But for us, we were like, okay, what's our cost per lead? And we were like, it's $70 a lead, which sounds like a lot for some people and their products. $70 for me to go sell again today a $10,000 product is
Right.
nothing. And even though we only close a small percentage of those leads, the math still works out really well for us and we're able to sustain it and do it. So it's part of our overall strategy. But in the beginning, you have to hustle. Like I remember reading books like duct tape marketing and like all these other strategies and getting forums and getting influencers and getting on Facebook groups. And like we would do everything we could to get our name in front of customers. And we tried other things, but I never liked the things that just blast to everybody. We tried to be as focused as we could with our dollars. And I think bootstrapping helped. We didn't have millions of dollars sitting around to go blow on trade shows and customer VIP events. We were like, every dollar counts. Where are we going to spend it? And what's the best bang for our buck here as we grow this business? And like, again, as you and your audience know, it's hard scaling a business, man. You got taxes to pay, inventory is going up, receivables are going up, commissions, R&D, and you hope there's something left for you at the end of the day.
How do you manage as you're scaling relationships with suppliers and vendors and things like that? Because I do know that you guys have moved into another interesting question, how you've made your decision to iterate on your product, but you do have a physical product and you do need relationships with people to put that together and all those things. And that is another puzzle.
Yeah, like I wish I was a pure software company, right? It'd be so much easier, especially today's world with tariffs. And then if you remember a couple of years ago with COVID and supply chain, like those things were all over the board and like chaos ensued, right? And I swore when I started my business, I'm like, I'm gonna have no receivables and no inventory. And then you wake up one day and you got $12 million in cash tied up in both. And you're like, this is insane. Like, where's all the cash? It's here, right? So, but yeah, it was important for us to have good relationships with suppliers. So going back to the SEO thing, I went to every supplier I had and I was like, hey man, I want to like, can I get a link back on your site? Because I wanted like, I'm promoting your product. I want to make sure people know I'm legit. I'm an authorized reseller. Let's do that. And another thing I started was podcasts. So as we were scaling there, I started doing a podcast and it was like, let me get my vendors on here, just talk about their products and services and how they're helping people. And I got customers on there. That was a great networking tool. Vendors, when we have trade shows or events, even like we have internal events here at Diesel Laptops, we got 200 employees. Like a bunch of them are remote. They don't get here that often. Like we want to get the vendors. So we invite them in to come do talks to their sales group or talks to their tech support team. We have our annual event. Come set up a table at our annual event. So during breaks, they can come talk to our vendors and understand who we do and what we do. So I think we have a great relationship with our vendors. It's not one of those things where it's just, let's have quick conversations. We never do anything like those don't go anywhere. A great example is there's a particular product. When we first bought this product, we were buying through a distribution company. And we first sold 20 a month, then 40 a month, and then 100 a month. So then we go back and we're like, hey, now we're buying a lot. Like, how do we get the price down? Like, I can commit to more. Or like, what do we got to do here? And they give you a better price and a better price. And all of a sudden your volume's up to like 500, 600 units a month. And our vendor couldn't supply us. So we're like, well, what do we do? Like, well, let's go to where they're buying it from. Like, let's go to the actual manufacturer because now we got big volume. What will they do for us? And all of a sudden we went from this commodity product that we were only making 5% margin on at the end of the day to now we sell 1,000 a month and we have like 35% margins, and just took like having those relationships and commitments with those vendors and having those conversations. A lot of times vendors have like so many customers, they don't know who's important or what it is. They just do it on volume. If I'm like, I have customers that are smaller, but they're like constantly asking me like, how can I run my business better? What can I do? Like those are the guys that we have great conversations with. They're getting better tech support than the average customer just because they have the relationship with everybody here and they know who we are. In the B2B world, relationships, I mean, price is important in the product and the service, but relationships are just so important in this whole B2B space.
Tyler, I think you have incredible energy. I think you do a great job that it comes through with your online presence. Also, just so far in the conversation, there are like 12 times 12 days, hours of content that we could talk about as far as, different parts of the business that you've run and also mentality and all these things. So I'm really excited. It excites me to think about talking about all of those things. I'm curious on the other side of it. You mentioned it has not all been great. So has there been a particular time in the company, could have been recently maybe, where you really ran into a struggle or a problem? And could you talk about it?
Yeah, first of all the time. Like, and I'll give a couple of quick examples. When we were smaller, someone hacked into our Amazon seller account because we sell some goods on there. and they changed the bank deposit information to another bank, and all of a sudden we're out like $50,000 and never even knew it, right? So you have
Oh my
things like
God.
that. One of the first CFOs I hired, um, he was either incompetent or he was purposely doing things, and I wasn't getting accurate financials, which put us in a really difficult spot. So
Wow.
there's been that. Transitioned like 3 years ago. We transitioned from QuickBooks Online finally to NetSuite, which was well needed. It wasn't planned properly. It wasn't thought through properly. We went like 9 months without getting accurate financials. It was so bad. We were doing sales, but our system wasn't even emailing customers invoices or statements and even trying to collect, right? Like, and we didn't know what inventory to order, so we didn't have inventory. Let's just say this: it got so bad there at one point. My company lost $6 million that year, and I didn't know it until a year after it happened, because there was just so much chaos. The controller quit. Like, it was all these things happened at once. So even at scale, like, we ran into problems, and it cost us a lot of money and a lot of time, and it got us in the wrong direction. Look, running a business, growing a business, there's only one guarantee: it's you're going to have problems every day of the week. Your whole job is to figure out, how do I get ahead of this? How do I stop working in the business and start working on the business? And it really comes down to hiring great people that you really trust and can do those things for you. And that's been the shift for like the last 5 or 6 years. And you need to have that. So it's between that and strategic planning, all these other things you have to do. But like, every company that ever existed hits a revenue plateau. And I think if a lot of people think about their business and they look at the last 3 or 4 years, like, oh yeah, it's been kind of flat and I don't know what's going on. I can tell you what's going on. It's you. It's you. You're the holder. You're the one holding this back. It's nobody else. And it's really a hard thing to overcome for a lot of people. Like, how do I keep growing this company? How do I keep scaling it? And it's a different skill set. You got to do it every single plateau that you hit. And it's not easy, but it's definitely a doable thing. You just got to decide what your why is. Like, is my why to grow a big company and sell for $1 billion? Is my why just to make 500 grand a year and live off that? Like, why am I doing this thing that I'm doing? So until you can answer those questions yourself, it gets really hard to make great decisions going forward.
The why questions, the easy questions.
They should be easy for people, but they're not. When you start really
No,
asking them,
they're
why? Yeah, sarcasm. Yeah, like, why do you do this? Like, a lot of people are like, I don't know. I want to sell it. Like, okay, when, for how
yeah.
much? Like, look, a lot of people, like, you ask them, like, what are your goals? And then they kind of tell you. And then you're like, okay, well, what's your plan? Well, I really don't know. I'm figuring this. I'm like, a goal without a plan. We have a strong word for that over here. It's called a wish. Like, you
Yeah.
really got to figure out what those steps are to get to where you want to be. And that's what I go back to. That's working on your business, not in your business, and involved with the day to day. Once I remove myself from the day to day stuff around here, things really took off.
So I have two more questions for you because we're coming up on time, which is tragic. But the first one that I have is, when you navigate something as difficult as, like, in retrospect, you didn't even know how bad that transition impacted your business until a year after. How do you interpret things like that, and while staying kind to yourself and mentally, aware enough to continue running your business at the clip that you?
Yeah, I mean, it's mindset, right? Like, you can choose when a crisis happens how you want to handle it, right? I can either decide, I'm gonna wake up all day, be stressed as hell about this, and go drink a half a bottle of whiskey tonight and like do it all
Yeah.
again tomorrow, right? Like, some people do that, right? I'm more of the, like, look, I actually tell people, like, I don't mind a crisis. Like, that's when we get to, like, roll up our sleeves and get all in on this stuff, and we get to go fix something. We're gonna learn a
Yeah.
lot in this whole journey, and it's probably gonna bring us in a different direction. And when I look back at all, again, I relate that totally to my personal life and my professional life. Every time something really bad's happened or a crisis has been there, there's a huge opportunity. COVID was a huge opportunity for us, and we grew our business tremendously during COVID. Tariffs are going on right now. You don't think anyone that's selling physical goods is worried about tariffs and what's going on with that price? To me, I looked at that. I was like, I can choose to do that, or I can choose to figure out a way to make this into an opportunity to go grow my business and even grow this thing faster, which is exactly the things we're doing and the strategies that's going on here now at Diesel Laptops. So a lot of it's just your pure mindset, and some people just get overwhelmed with things. But I think a lot of that goes back to just making sure you're prepared for it. Like, do you have a good support network around there? Are you mentally clear already before that? Are you physically healthy? Like, there's so many other pieces of that you need to have in place for the foundation to be able to do those things. The other one too is just de-risking yourself. Like I said earlier in the podcast, like, we run no debt here, like zero. I have zero long-term debt. I have cash in the bank. And by the way, you sleep a lot better at night when that happens. And when a crisis does happen, you feel a lot better of it knowing you got a couple $1 million in your bank account and not having to worry about bank payments and loan payments and all the other things that are happening. So you just got to be prepared for it more than anything else and have the right mindset going into it.
I would love to do an entire series on how you've bootstrapped an asset heavy business and end up with no debt. That though all those things don't seem like they agree. Is there anywhere on the internet where you've discussed that specifically?
Look, I think if people follow me on LinkedIn, LinkedIn to me has been like since I started my company 10 years ago, I've been posting on there and I didn't post on there for any other reason besides like somebody else out there has to be going through some similar stuff that I am. Like let me go let's just find those people, and to me LinkedIn's turned into a place where I still share our journey. Like that's the great best place to go. So if they go on LinkedIn, go to just search for Tyler Robertson Diesel. I'm sure I'll pop up on there. But yeah, man, I share. I'm very very transparent to everybody, like what we're doing, what's working, what's not, failures, wins, successes, trials, tribulations, like all the things are on there. And again, that's just me. I'd rather be transparent and show people what's going on even when they're not so good. So I would encourage people to check me out there.
Cool. Well, last question for you, because a lot of what you've been talking about as far as mindset and stuff is inspiring to me, and I'm curious. And it can be something small that's happened recently. It could be something big that is pervasive. But what inspires you?
Yeah, it took me a while to realize this, and I read a book recently, and a lot of it came down to one thing that holds almost all of us back from everything we do in life, and it's a lack of courage. And we put all these things in our head on why we shouldn't do something. The risk is too great. I may fail. I may succeed. Or what's going to happen in this? Like we start putting all this stuff in our head, and then we start rationalizing why we shouldn't do it, or why we should postpone it, or why it's not perfect. Like all these things happen. And a lot of it just comes straight down to people have a lack of courage to move forward in their life in a certain direction. That book really changed my perspective on things. And I started to realize like I don't need to have a lack of courage here to speak my mind. I don't need to have a lack of courage to go try something. We have these resources, we have these things. I'm not going to take bets that I can't afford to lose, but I'm willing to go take risks and I'm willing to go do those things because I don't have that fear holding me back. And it's worked really well for me in hindsight. I still got work to do on that front as well, but a lot of it came down to a lack of courage. And when people would look in the mirror and decide why they're not doing something, not losing weight, not doing a certain thing in their life, not asking that girl out at the bar, it's a lack of courage is what it really boils down to at the end of the day. And once you find your way past that, the doors of opportunity really open up to you.
So the articulation, like putting words to that feeling of that, it really comes down to lack of courage. That is ultimately what is
I
inspiring you.
say it all the time till I'm blue in the face around here. Like it's a lack of courage, man. Like, we're even in a conference room, right? And people have questions. Like, people are in a conference room. I know they got questions. Like, who's got questions? Nobody raises their hand,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like it's just because people are afraid. People are afraid to do all kinds of things in their life, from the really simple to the really complex. And your life gets infinitely better when you start opening your mind up to it and realizing what it is, and realizing like those fears you have are just irrational 99.9% of the time.
Awesome. What a way to end it, Tyler. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. I know you mentioned people can find you on LinkedIn. Is there anywhere else that's
LinkedIn's the best place to go if you just want to learn more about diesel laptops, diesellaptops.com. You can learn about our products, services, all the things that are on there.
cool? Definitely check it out. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Tyler, have an awesome day.